This is not the same shirt that I wore in the last episode. You are tripping. There are 3 things in life that are inevitable: death, taxes, and my love for Invisigal. Developed by the indie company Ad Hoc Studios and partnered with the D&D group Critical Role, big surprise there, Dispatch is a 2025 choice-based, choose-your-own-adventure style video game.
Inspired by the developer's past works on the Telltale series of games, Dispatch uses very similar forms of storytelling and gameplay, but the real gameplay comes from these dispatch missions. You clock into work and you pick the best candidates to send out to certain calls. Basically, you act as a glorified 911 operator to send characters to certain calls from people who either just need some help or to handle real crimes, all in an attempt to rehabilitate a group of villains into becoming real superheroes.
This is a new type of episode for professional Normie to delve into, since this is the first video game I get to talk about for this show. I have been obsessed with this game pretty much ever since it came out. Once I heard that 2 of my favorite YouTubers, Moist Critical and Jacksepticeye, were lending their vocals to these 2 iconic characters, Sonar and Punch Up. And this episode will go pretty similarly to past episodes. It's just going to be adjusted a little bit to fit the fact that it's a video game. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Taking place in the city of Torrance in California, Dispatch is a superhero workplace comedy set in a bizarro alternate reality of LA. You play as the Mecha Man, Robert Robertson III, yes, that's his name, a down-on-his-luck powerless superhero who practically lost his mecha suit after a huge fight with some villains. He gets offered a job to take on the role of a dispatcher for SDN, an agency that employs, trains, and dispatches superheroes and former villains to subscribers, who call for assistance in many particular needs. To be honest, I don't know how a subscription to a superhero service works like that, but all I know is I am just sick and tired of subscriptions, and I wish everything nowadays didn't require it. Anyway though, the story follows a love triangle between Robert, the one that hired you, Blonde Blazer, and a troubled former villain named Invisigal, formerly known as Invisibitch. Wow, that's some real self-esteem issues.
So, you 2 fuck or what?
Throughout the whole story, there is only one thing that stays consistent, however: Robert's urge to get revenge on the supervillain Shroud, who was responsible for the death of his father and previous Mecha Man, Robert Robertson II. Jesus Christ.
Like I said, the way the story goes is based on the choices you make throughout all the episodes. Currently, there are only 8 episodes right now, but I have heard talk of a season 2 that is alleged to come out either 2028 or 2029. Though honestly, I'm just curious how exactly season 2 will incorporate your previous decisions going into it.
Most of the cutscenes and action-heavy moments require you to engage in quick-time events as Robert, making it almost like an interactive movie. The actual dispatching is interesting. You have to pick the character with the correct stats to get a higher chance at winning the call. For example, if you need a character to help solve a clue, send Human Sonar. If you need someone with strength or can fight, send Punch Up or Flambe. Or, if you need to convince someone, send someone with the highest charisma stat like Prism, my personal favorite behind Sonar. Definitely not in a biased way, I'm sure.
She temporarily blinded me! What do you mean temporarily? Make you blind forever!
The characters can also gain new abilities through training, and if you were to send 2 characters that work great together, that heavily increases your chance of winning. Just as an example, you can send the characters Flambe and Prism together, which unlocks their synergy, and you're almost 100% guaranteed to win every time.
There are a ton of different characters in the world of Dispatch that all play unique roles in the story and have their own lore throughout the comic books that you can get through the Digital Deluxe Edition. But for this part, I'm only going to be talking about our 4 main protags.
First on the list, our main star of the show, Robert Robertson III, goddammit, aka Mecha Man, played by the one and only Jesse Pinkman himself, Aaron Paul.
Yeah, bitch! Magnets! Oh!
Who, fun fact, also voiced Powerplex in that one episode of Invincible. Apparently he stepped down from the role because the character of Powerplex was just too damning on his psyche or something like that. I'm glad he found another alternative, as if the role of being Jesse Pinkman was not already damning on his psyche. Robert is an out-of-commission superhero turned dispatcher. His main goal throughout the game is to get his mecha suit back in action so he can avenge his father's death. He becomes the lead manager of the Phoenix program, where he is tasked with redeeming villains into becoming heroes. Kinda like Task Force X and M from the DC universe, but a lot less demanding and a lot less risk of death. It kinda just works like a normal 9 to 5, if you will. Also beef. We all love beef. Robert is also a master hacker and often uses those skills to get his teammates out of sticky situations. But he does gain another sense of belonging when he starts forming a bond with the Z team and considers them family, finding a new purpose in helping others out. Next we have Blonde Blazer, played by Erin Yvette. She is a corporate superhero who works as the head of the Superhero Dispatching Network, SDN. She's courageous and a bit of a dork, but we don't really know anything about her actual origin, on how she became a hero or anything, but we know from the art gallery she's meant to represent the golden age of superheroes in the modern day. She's also pretty much got all the basic superpowers of Superman, like flight, super strength, and even super metabolism, but her main ability is to shoot little mini Kamehameha waves from her hands. The Superman vs. Goku fans are really gonna have my neck for that statement. She's also the first romance option in the game. She acts as a sort of mentor figure and caretaker to the protagonist, having hired him to the team. But she seems rather biased towards Invisigal, actively stating she wants her to stay on the Z team despite all that she has done. This is what the people in the Phoenix program are referred to as, by the way, the Z team. Yeah, I told you this is like the Suicide Squad. And I have heard rumors about how she could be a possible secret supervillain based on how she helps to manage the final shift in the game, but I'll leave that up to your interpretation. Next up we do have Invisigal, played by Laura Bailey, the second romance option for Robert, and she's also very brash and a troubled character, I would say, the opposite to Blondie over here. Like I said, she's the one I tried to go for 2 times in a row, and I managed to get the good ending with her in my second round, but apparently for a lot of people, it was pretty difficult to get the good ending. And maybe it's because I pretty much chose every option to please her. I swear to God, I don't have a problem. As her name implies, she can turn invisible, but only for as long as she can hold her breath. Which is cool, until you realize she has asthma. And also I do see why many people, even in the community, have a problem with this character. It's clear the team had a sort of writing bias, if you will, which kinda sucks, cause honestly the whole time playing this game, I just wanted to learn more about the other characters in the roster. But like I said, there are some short comics that you can get in the deluxe edition that gives a bit more insight into the villains and their backstory. But to me that just wasn't really enough. And not to spoil anything, but there is an interesting dynamic with Robert and one of the other villains in the roster that I thought would develop into something way bigger, but just doesn't really go anywhere, no matter what choices you make. But anyway, say what you will about her, there is a real reason why I chose her path over Blazer's, because in the end, I do truly believe she was the character who deserved redemption just as much as anyone else on the team. Except for Coupe.
Boo! You stink!
The last character on this list I honestly think of as the soul of this game. Trackstar, aka Chase, aka Beef's #1 fan, played by Jeffrey Wright. You ever wonder how Gen Z will look in their 40s? Well, now you do. Chase is the reverse idea of an anime girl looking really young, but is actually 1,000 years old or whatever.
Yeah, so what's up? You gonna tell me why you look like Black Einstein?
His superpower is super speed, traveling 50 times faster than normal human speeds, which is close to the low supersonic speed, but it's apparently been rumored and theorized that in his prime he could travel closer to the speed of light, but that is just rumors. However, he realized way too late his powers came at a great cost. Every time he used them, he would also age 50 times faster. That's a really shitty drawback to have when your superpower is super speed. Like, that's if God gave you a treadmill, but every time you used it, you'd be slowly developing scoliosis or some shit. Like, what the hell? Chase is a 39-year-old man who works at the same SDN office as Robert. He's blunt, a bit grumpy, but he's still young at heart. He's Robert's longtime best friend and was even tight with his father, Robert Robertson II. God, nope. We're not doing this joke again. He's actually the one that persuaded Blazer to give Robert the job in the first place. So already he's carrying a lot on his probably fading spine. But of course, Chase isn't just a meme dispenser, like everyone else, being the one that gives you tips and heads ups whenever it's needed. And I do truly believe he wanted to see the Z team succeed just like everyone else. It's just he's dealt with so much villain bullshit, he acts like he doesn't really care when deep down, he knows as a hero he still wants to help others.
I see why you and Beef get along.
Your whole goal while playing Dispatch is to make sure you make the best choices and judgment calls to get the best results after each episode to get the true ending. But in my opinion, the best way to get the best ending is based on how much risk you have. And depending on whether or not you choose Blonde Blazer and Visigal as a partner, that can completely change how your run will go and end. And kind of fun fact, depending on how good you are with the Dispatch missions, they can determine how well your characters do in your run. Meaning no Dispatch gameplay stays the same. So while the way I described it made it sound rather straightforward, the Dispatch missions actually serve a little bit more of a narrative purpose than I initially thought.
The writing seems very biased towards Invisigal in particular. And I also wanted to point out there are these inconsistencies with the actual powers she's given.
Like for example, there's one scene where she's holding her phone, then she disappears along with the phone. However, later on, there's a small joke about her not being able to get popcorn after sneaking into a movie theater because it would just be a floating bucket of popcorn.
The only lame thing is I can't get snacks.
Floating buckets of popcorn do tend to draw a lot of attention.
There's plenty of other examples. But I don't really think about that kind of thing a lot. Especially when it's just like some minor like mistakes and what have you. It's not like it's actually like defining the plot or anything. However, the biased writing for her character development, I think is definitely a case you can make in a serious conversation about character bias in writing, which I think is a pretty common thing in character writing, especially in like indie games and like B movies. But that's a topic for a different day.
But I will say the story does really want you to focus a lot on Vizzy as if she is in fact Robert's true love, which might have been what pushed me to pursue her over Blazer because, like I said before, I'm all about going for the best or true ending in these types of choice-based games. Dispatch focuses heavily on moral dilemmas, often placing you in situations where there is no clear right or wrong answer. Your decisions can carry emotional weight, making you reflect on whether your actions truly helped or caused more harm, which is why I believe this game has resonated so well with audiences, because there's one point in the game, minor spoiler, where you have to choose which Phoenix member you want to kick from the team. And though on the surface it's a pretty simple choice if you've been on the internet within the past 6 to 7 years or so, come on, we all know we were going to vote for Moist Critical over Cooper. Cooper? Did I just act... I just called her Cooper. Oh my god. Fuck you! And like I mentioned before, your whole journey revolves around you/Robert bonding with your team to encourage positive growth. Everybody deserves redemption, especially if they actually confess to their wrongdoings and want to be better. The developers of the game, Ad Hoc Studio, was formed in the year 2018 by industry veterans from Telltale Games, Ubisoft, and Night School Studio, namely Telltale alumni Michael Chung, Nick Herman, Dennis Lennart, and Pierre Choret. Yeah, I just wanted to give these guys a quick shout out just to say thank you for making such a brilliant, well-written game and a very, very enjoyable experience for newcomers of the genre. I personally haven't actually played any Telltale games, so I guess in a way this is my first time playing a game in this genre of choose your own adventure. Well, I guess if you want to count Henry Stickmin, then that would be like the second. And also, technically, this is my first ever and favorite Telltale game so far.
One of my favorite characters in the roster of villains, aside from these two Chads, I really like Prism. She is pretty much how I like to portray my channel's mascot, Nike. Still a work in progress on the name. They're both internet personalities who enjoy the spotlight. They're both full of charisma, and they enjoy singing and dancing. And they can fight, trust. You don't know what that robot arm can do.
There's just something about her character that fits so in line with my aesthetic and personality. Like the whole time, I wish she was the one I could go for instead of the other two. Which is funny, because people also say the same for some of the other women in the cast. Mostly Malevola. No reason, I'm sure.
When last year's Game Awards were going on, I had heard of Dispatch, but I never really gave it much thought until I decided to bite the bullet and use my Christmas money to buy that game and the Game of the Year, Expedition 33. Guess which one had an episode? I like the game fine, it just feels a bit too similar to other games like Persona 5, and I've already played through a good bit of that game, and I'm still trying to beat it as we speak. But this game, bro, I am hooked. I plan on replaying this game for like the third time to try to get a different ending. Like, I'm gonna get with Blonde Blazer this time, but still try to help Vizzy turn her life around and get the good ending she deserves. And no, I'm not looking at a guide, and neither should you. You should play this game as it is intended, for you to make your own decisions. Play this game for yourself and prepare to be invested in a heart-gripping storyline and getting to know all sorts of different fun, cool, and goofy characters. I personally chose Vizzy because I believe she has the best intentions to become a hero, but may not have had the best influences in her life. And also, it's a bit of a redemption arc for a plot twist revealed later on. I'm not going to spoil anything. But anyway, yeah, that was my explanation of the game Dispatch. I hope it was interesting enough to you to want to go check it out for yourself. And if you do play it, come back to this video and tell me who did you end up going for. Did you end up with Blonde Babe or Invisibitch? So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you have a good rest of your day and night, and I'll talk to you guys later.